The movie begins with a group of teenagers talking about the legend of the Blissfield Butcher, a notorious serial killer who has been terrorizing the town for years. The Butcher started his attacks in the year 1977. He usually attacks teenagers around the night of homecoming. While looking for wine, one of the teenagers comes across an old knife named La Dola. A few minutes later, he hears a noise, and when he looks, he is ambushed by the Butcher. The Butcher then goes after all the remaining teenagers, and one by one, he attacks all of them. The homeowner's daughter Ginny enters a closet to hide from the Butcher, but then she hears the sound of her parents coming. She goes out of the closet and runs toward them, but the Butcher gets her. The same night, Butcher stole the knife known as La Dola. We now meet Millie Kessler, a high school student who is shy and a little awkward. Millie reveals to her mom that she doesn't have a date for the homecoming night. Millie has a close relationship with her mother and sister, but her father's death has left her feeling alone. Millie is hesitant to go to homecoming, but her friends convince her to go. We see in class Millie is abused by her teacher for something that is not her fault. Suddenly, everyone in the class gets an alert that 4 teenagers were murdered, and the suspect is at large. While cheerleading, she is again abused and made fun of by her own football team players. After the football match, Millie waits for her mother to pick her up, but she is passed out. While waiting, Millie sees a tall figure standing right across the street. Millie starts running, but the Butcher comes after her. She hides under the sitting area of the stadium. Millie looks to see if the Butcher is gone, and he appears right in front of her. Millie runs from him and falls, and the Butcher stabs her. We see that the knife has some magical powers. This is the same knife he stole from Ginny's house. After stabbing Millie, the Butcher realizes that he is also affected by it. He starts to bleed from the same area of his body he stabbed Millie. Millie's sister comes there and fires a round, and the Butcher runs from there. Later at night, Millie has scary dreams about the Butcher stabbing her, along with a whispery voice coming from the knife. Millie wakes up from sleep and behaves unusually as if she has never been to her room before. The Butcher also wakes up in his house and behaves unusually. He behaves as if he has never been to his house before. He gets scared by looking at his own face and asks a homeless man about how he looks to confirm that he is not hallucinating. Meanwhile, Millie continues to behave unusually in her home. We see Millie sneaking up on her sister, but her mom stops her. The Butcher goes out in public and accidentally pushes a woman, and she recognizes him as the Butcher, causing him to run away from there and enter Millie's school building. Millie completely changes her dress-up game. Now she dresses like a badass, and everyone in school, including Millie's best friends, is shocked by her appearance. Millie takes a girl to a private place to tell her the secret about what happened with the Butcher, but Millie is acting weird. The same girl sees the Butcher taking a shower. She runs and tells Millie, and Millie again acts weird, locks her in the freezer, and decreases the temperature. The Butcher comes there, sees the freezer beeping, and when he opens it, he sees the other girl is frozen. The school announces that the homecoming dance is postponed due to the attacks. The Butcher meets Millie's friends and tries to talk to them, but they hurt him and run away. He catches up with them and tells them that he is Millie. They don't believe him and attack him again, and after all this, they become tired. The Butcher then does the cheerleading dance that Millie does regularly to get them to believe that she is Millie in the Butcher's body. Josh and Nyla ask the Butcher about Millie's favorite snacks, movies, etc., and the Butcher answers all correctly. Now, they are confirmed that the Butcher is actually Millie. The Butcher, aka Millie, tells them that he got the same wound as Millie, and also, in her dream, she hears about a knife called La Dola. They ask their teacher about the knife, and she tells them that if the sacrifice is not successful, the souls of the 2 people are swapped, and it becomes permanent after 24 hours. In the washroom, Butcher aka Millie got interrupted by her previous bully. Now that she has Butcher's strength, she goes out and scares him and tells him not to mess with Millie anymore. The bully gets so scared that he starts peeing in his pants. Meanwhile, Millie aka the Butcher comes into the classroom of the teacher that abuses Millie. He attacks the teacher, but since he doesn't have the Butcher's previous strength, so the teacher quickly overpowers him. But the Butcher, with his skills, attacks the teacher and throws him into a saw. Millie aka the Butcher comes in front of the real Butcher in Millie's body. The Butcher in Millie's body acts scared, and the police run after Millie. Millie and her friends run from the police in a car. Millie's sister sees them running and pursues them. Millie in the Butcher's body comes across her mom in the mall dressing room. Her mother recommends polo t-shirts, and they also talk about the tragedy caused to the family due to Millie's father's death. Millie aka Butcher now hangs out with popular classmates, and she suggests planning the homecoming party in an old abandoned mill due to the curfew. Millie aka the Butcher sneaks up on Booker and tries to attack him, but he is saved by Millie and her friends. Booker runs away thinking the Butcher is after him. They apprehend the Butcher in Millie's body. Millie in Butcher's body tries to convince Booker that she is the real Millie, and to prove it she recites a poem that Millie has put in Booker's locker earlier. Millie and her friends now plan to steal the knife from the station to swap the Butcher and Millie's souls back to the original bodies. Nyla crafts a story and tries to steal the knife from the police station. Meanwhile, Josh's mom comes home and sees Millie aka the Butcher tied to a chair. Josh tells her that they are playing a role-playing game. Millie suddenly frees herself and tries to attack Josh and his mom. At the station, Nyla gets caught by the police while stealing the knife from the evidence locker. Millie and the Butcher show up there to convince Charlene, but Millie's sister Charlene shoots at her, thinking she is the Butcher. Meanwhile, the real Butcher in Millie's body steals the knife La Dola and runs away. Charlene is about to put Millie in the lockup, but Booker gets there and it allows Millie to lock up Charlene. At the homecoming party, the Butcher attacks 3 of Millie's douchebag classmates. Millie aka the Butcher and the Butcher aka Millie come face to face for the final showdown. The Butcher attacks Millie, and when Millie tries to swap bodies with the Butcher, the police arrive there, and they shoot Millie. The Butcher runs from the place, and Millie follows him. With the help of Nyla, they knock out the Butcher. Meanwhile, Millie finds out that the 24-hour reswapping period is over, and now she has to stay in the Butcher's body. But then Josh tells her that Booker always sets his watch 5 minutes ahead of time, so they have 5 minutes to stab the Butcher and swap back to their original bodies. Millie stabs the Butcher, and they swap their soul back to their respective bodies. The police come there, and they shoot the Butcher. While transferring to the hospital, the Butcher removes his pulse monitor and pretends to be dead. Later that night, Millie hears a noise and goes to look, but nobody is there. Suddenly, we see the Butcher standing right next to her. He holds her captive. Millie's sister comes there and tries to shoot him, but he emptied the bullets from the clip earlier. Millie's mother comes there and smashes a glass bottle on the Butcher's head. The Butcher gets up and attacks both Millie's mother and her sister. Millie comes with a knife, but the Butcher catches her. The Butcher confronts her and tells her that she is the lesser version of her sister and that she has to take orders from a drunk mother. Millie, her sister, and her mother do a coordinated defense attack and neutralize the Blissfield Butcher for good this time.